Welcome to Rotting Jewels. My name is Dana. For new visitors, I have almost 2 years worth of what I refer to as active research on the topic we're going to discuss today on my YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description along with my link tree. We are going to continue a very long journey of challenging the public consumption narratives of the Process Church of the Final Judgment. You may have heard of them, or may know them under their modern-day iteration, the Best Friends Animal Society. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. In order to challenge the aforementioned public consumption narrative, as in the narrative spoon-fed to the public, we need an idea of how they came to be, what they believe, what they strike down as satanic panic conspiracy theories, and why they tried to distance themselves from the humble 37,700-acre animal sanctuary tucked away in what was once referred to as Little Hollywood in Kanab, Utah. We continue this journey by asking one question.
What is the process?
Oh, must we drag all that up again?
Is it old to the death? Better hold your breath. In this cell, I prevail. Freddy said from hell, ring the bell. When you're finished, I'm a grown man and winning. Sacrificing to the demons. No, I love it when you screaming. Commit to your thought. Do it now what you lost in the darkness. You will never wake up so conscious, anxious. Why are you so scared of feeling pain, bitch? Devil in your soul, cutting now and then you'll go. Walk on the dark path, kill and you feel that. Never in your life you gotta rush from the kickback. Matte black, black, 10 knife on the neck, man. Hear the whispering, devil taking over them. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. All red on me, got the blood up in your hair. Sign your soul to the devil, now you asking is it fair? Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. All red on me, got the blood up in your hair. Sign your soul to the devil, now you asking is it fair?
Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work. Listen to my words of Freddy telling do the devil's work.
Unfortunately for the Process Church, any positive direction that the process were heading in was summarily destroyed.
To begin with, we were very provocative. But, we were trying to be a respectable group, and of course, bang.
In a scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird religious rite, 5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski. Miss Tate was 8 months pregnant.
Suddenly, we are being associated with a sociopathic, serial-killing gang.
In all my years, I have never seen anything like this before.
Today, we're going to start with a question that I am asked over and over again. Why the process? Because never before have I seen a cult so whitewashed with sympathetic propaganda that, admittedly, my curiosity gets the better of me. Because we still don't know the truth. The reality is, we may never know. I accept that. But much of what we do know is thanks to Ed Sanders.
Those murders, the Sharon Tate and Abigail Folger and Jay Sebring and Wojciech Frykowski and Stephen Parent and the LaBiancas and those other and the related murders were uncovered such a huge spectrum of things that people wanted to hide. Everything from pornographic movies of Hollywood to drug dealings to people's cultic persuasions as to religion, and generally people's bad news they wanted to hide on all fronts, from all aspects of California life, and so there are all these desperate people interested in keeping these facts hidden.
I don't do hero worship, but I like to credit those that inspire me. The late Dave McGowan, Ed Sanders, the late Maury Terry, Jimmy Fallon Gong, and some of the friends I've made along this very strange journey. Ed is at the forefront of the discussion today because, as many of you know, a new single-episode documentary about Tom O'Neill's chaos recently came out on Netflix. Or, as I like to call it, the ultimate Scientology process limited hangout.
My world is a sad world.
Well, you're suggesting Manson was a puppet.
I want to make it clear from the outset of this topic altogether, I do not believe it was your typical Netflix hit job on true crime. Take note how Scientology was only mentioned once, by a former investigator, not even Tom. And there's that weird dog walking by in the opening credits, but I digress. The Processians have played victim to the satanic panic over the years, and often point the finger at Ed Sanders and Maury Terry for their woes. The truth is for you to decide. I am not here to give a play-by-play of the crimes attributed to the Manson family. If you need a refresher, Chaos can provide that. I'm here to examine the process's critiques of Ed, their earliest attempts at contacting him, and to look the elephant in the room dead in the eye. Charles Manson.
When Manson was arrested and charged with the crimes of the century, his association with the Process Church was explored.
Decades have passed and Manson is dead, yet the insistence that the process had nothing to do with Charlie lives on. As the old saying goes, the lady doth protest just a little bit too much. Let's see what Timothy Wiley had to say about Ed in Love, Sex, Fear, and Death. Many lies have been told about the process over time, that we were murderers and cannibals, that we sacrificed our dogs and children in hideous black masses, that we inducted new members by demanding they participate in sexual orgies, that we were mind-benders and brainwashers, that we set up and inspired Charles Manson. The list is endless, and none of it is true. In my opinion, these were the speculations of gutter press writers looking to make a buck at the expense of an easy target. We naively thought we'd cleared ourselves by winning a settlement in the court case against Ed Sanders, author of The Family, and his publisher, the New York house Dutton. Sanders, among whose prior writings included the improbable admonition, "Fuck God up the ass," was the first to publish the speculations associating Manson with the process.
We in fact did sue the publisher and Ed Sanders, and we did win. But the damage was done.
Since we'd settled the case in America, the libelous chapter was removed in subsequent printings. However, we did lose the court case when it was tried in London before an ultra-conservative judge who, if one reads the court transcript, was particularly sarcastic about Robert's foolish decision not to appear in court to defend his own words. This judge may also have had some unpleasant memories of our arrogant behavior in England when we had started proselytizing our apocalyptic message. By losing this case, we opened up the floodgates of suspicion that stoked the imaginations of other writers.
We had actually nothing to do with Manson.
The first time we've met Charles Manson is when he was in jail.
We lauded the extremes of human experience and were exploring the often taboo aspects of subjects like death, fear, and sex. We had little thought for the long-term effects of what we were promoting.
We were stupefyingly blind to the consequences of freaking people out incessantly. We believe in the unity of Christ and Satan.
So much so that when the Ed Sanders book and the articles associating us with the Manson killings started appearing, we were baffled and appalled. How could anyone have thought we would have anything to do with Manson or the murders? We had never met the man, nor to our knowledge did he ever visit our coffee house in the San Francisco chapter.
They had this lovely little coffee shop, and it was pretty much do as you like, and I was reading people's hands in a corner, and he came by. You know, we sort of knew who he was because he had his own little group following him, and he was very feisty, very argumentative. And he was tiny guy. And he watched us for a minute, and the person whose hand I was reading got up and left. And I thought he wanted me to read his hand, and I asked him, and he said, "If you know what you're doing, you can read an egg." And he walked away. He was just in the coffee shop. You know, I have no idea who else he talked to. Personally, I think he was just looking out for his own crew and, you know, in competition with the world, because he was that kind of person.
Even though, as is frequently trotted out in the conspiracy theory books, he lived several blocks away on Cole Street, and reputedly in the same time frame as we were there. But this was all purely guilt by tenuous association. Yet, had we applied the same harsh rules of responsibility to ourselves as we were preaching to the world, we might well have asked ourselves what we had done to magnetize these terrible lies to us, or why we took it upon ourselves to interview Manson for the death issue of the Process magazine.
I don't think we helped at all by sending a couple of people to interview Manson in jail.
When Manson was incarcerated, the Process Church asked him to write a feature for their magazine, a magazine entitled Death.
I'm talking to Father Malachi of The Process, which has been linked with the Charles Manson group. Manson actually wrote a piece for you. He said, "Death is peace from this world's madness and paradise in my own self."
I don't believe this was ever discussed. In spite of the many inaccuracies and lies that have been written about the Process in its heyday, we were not bad people. Naive, perhaps, and probably emotionally damaged and needy in many cases, but we were certainly not killers or cannibals. We may have been overly flamboyant in our cloaks and uniforms and downright Gnostic in our beliefs, but we never set out to deliberately hurt anyone. Me speaking. Let's start with lie number 1, and this one is a little bit too easy.
Mindbenders of Mayfair and stuff like that. That was great fun, you know. She would call herself that, whether my, you know. But no, you don't call yourself Manson's spiritual counselors.
Because the Process is Scientology and Scientology is the Process, I'd like to go in chronological order first. The Los Angeles Evening Citizen News, December 4th, 1969. Dead girl, boy of Scientology cult, probe Manson link. Authorities today probed a possible connection between the leader of a roving cult of hippie nomads implicated in 2 Los Angeles mass slayings and religious sect steeped in a philosophy known as Scientology. Charles Miles Manson, 34-year-old bearded leader of the hippie commune, became interested in Scientology while serving a prison term at McNeil Island Federal Penitentiary in Washington State, according to information received by Detective Lieutenant Earl Deemer of the Police Department's Rampart Division. Deemer said it appeared Manson had dropped out of the Scientology movement after his release from prison. The connection of Manson with Scientology served, however, to stir new speculation in the deaths of a 19-year-old girl and 15-year-old boy whose mutilated bodies were discovered on the morning of November 22nd in a residential alleyway in Los Angeles. The victims, both of whom had been active in the Scientology movement, were identified as Doreen Gall, 19, of Albany, New York, and James A. Sharp, 15, of Crestwood, Missouri, a St. Louis suburb, in slayings that bore striking similarities to the killings of actress Sharon Tate and 4 others on August 9th, and to the murder, August 10th, of millionaire market owner Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. Miss Gall and Sharp died of multiple stab wounds. So many, in fact, that authorities initially thought that they had been wounded at point-blank range with a shotgun blast. The principal departure from the style of the other mass murders was that the Gall girl's body had been stripped naked, except for a tiny string of beads, she had been raped, and her right eye was gouged out. Less than a week earlier, on November 16th, the body of a tall, slender young woman, also brutally slashed, and with her right eye gouged out, had been discovered in a shrub-covered ravine in the Hollywood Hills. And now, less than a week later, the LA Evening Citizen News, December 10th, 1969. Scientology death tie. An investigation is being conducted into possible links between the 7 Tate LaBianca slayings and the November 5th stabbing deaths of 2 young Church of Scientology members, police said today. There is an investigation going on into the possible links, said Police Sergeant Henry Cullum. We have to hit every angle. Detective Lieutenant Earl Deemer said the possible link was being closely investigated. The overkill syndrome was present in the Scientologist deaths. Each kid was stabbed over 50 times, and it was present in the Tate and LaBianca murders. Similarities between the 3 brutal crimes have physical as well as philosophical parallels. Detectives reportedly have been looking into cultism, particularly the pseudo-religious tribe led by the long-haired, bearded Charles Manson family and another group called The Process. The Process Process, an anti-establishment group formed in London, which has been known to worship Satan, is an offshoot of the Church of Scientology. Investigators have been struck with parallels between the philosophies and the occultism of Manson, who was known to have dabbled in Scientology and then gone on to more eccentric cultism. So there you have it. Ed Sanders was not the first person to write anything about the process and Charles Manson. The LAPD was looking into the process before Ed Sanders published anything, and in relation to the Gall and Sharp murders. There's a lot to be said about the Rampart Division specifically, and the relationship of the LAPD today with the Church of Scientology.
And I don't want to get tripped up in with anyone else on any other level. But he come up with Dianetics 1950. So a lot of the guys was interested in studying the way to process the mind, how to clear your mind from past confusion, how to resurrect the soul and be reborn within yourself. So that's where Scientology started. And then they started selling it, and then it got to be the process. And then the church of the last day, the last judgment, I sent some people to England. I couldn't go myself, but I sent some people there to do some certain things to make an effect, to cause an awakening of an awareness in that. No, Bruce was just one person that went in that direction. There were some other people riding motorcycles that was doing some other things, you know.
In regards to the lawsuit with Ed Sanders, no, they did not sue him successfully in the States. They settled out of court, and the chapter with the process was removed. Now, in order to settle out of court, you need to be served legally, right? Let us remember, dear listener, one Leland Cole, the Grand Spook of Lower Bohemia, from Ed's Files. December 18th, 1971. The International Ministry of Information, Chicago Office, Executive Memo. On or about December 13, 1971, Leland Cole, now Executive Director IMI, was requested by Richard Orlikoff, Attorney at Law, to serve a U.S. District Court summons on a one Ed Sanders of the Dutton published work, The Family. Commander Cole accepted Orlikoff's request and was given $175 American for flight, hotel, and summons operations, which he, Orlikoff, presumed a necessity. On the 16th day of December 1971 in New York City, Commander Cole did personally serve a one answering to the name of Ed Sanders, a U.S. court summons, civil action file number 71C2490. Cole, on the 17th day of December 1971, received in Chicago $250 American from Richard Orlikoff for his above action. This above action was in fact the prelude to IMI case number 1371-12. Signed, Lieutenant Commander Robert James Augusto, IMI Operations Coordinator. Yes, that is the same Leland Cole, and indeed, that is the same Richard Orlikoff that represented Milton Cohen, one of 6 witnesses named as being active in the Communist Party, who stormed out of the House on Un-American Activities Committee in May of 1965. If you've been with me since episode 1, dear listener, then you know that this is not the last time we're going to see Leland Cole. This is just the first time that we see him. Would it really be a process story if we don't go into full-blown paranoia? The Sun-Times, March 27, 1973. Skolnick, aide missing. Legal researcher Sherman H. Skolnick, the head of the Citizens Committee to Clean Up the Courts, was reported missing Monday. The controversial Skolnick, who initiated legal actions that led to reappointments and resignations of Illinois Supreme Court justices, was reported missing by an aide. Leland Cole, 23, the assistant, said Skolnick had his files with him and was on his way to a meeting downtown on the Watergate Hotel bugging case. Skolnick was investigating possible links between the Watergate matter and the crash of a plane at Midway Airport last December. The Midway plane crash of last December 8th was an act of sabotage. The reason for it was to kill 4 people on the plane, the first 2 two were Mrs. E. Howard Hunt, wife of the CIA man in the Watergate case, and Michelle Clark, a CBS correspondent who reportedly found Mrs. Hunt was coming to Chicago to divorce her husband and revealed details of the Watergate incident. The second two were employees of the Northern Natural Gas Company of Omaha who reportedly possess information that former Attorney General John N. Mitchell held stock in the El Paso Natural Gas Company, received after he dropped antitrust charges against the company. While Sherman was busily engaged in his investigations, he also had time one night to charge onto a television station set in his wheelchair to accuse Rennie Davis, once again, of being a member of the CIA. During the Republican convention, Sherman chased Abby Hoffman down the street to accuse him of being a government spy as well. As a culmination to these charges being hurled in all directions, Sherman, according to his associates, left his home at 8:15 a.m. Monday. "I'm bringing the file on John Mitchell with me," Sherman told Leland Cole. "If you don't hear from me by 9 a.m., call the police." Sherman hasn't been heard from since. That leaves us with a serious question. Did someone do Sherman in? Or did Sherman disappear to gain attention for his crusades? You can believe what you want, Cole said, but do you think Sherman Skolnick would throw away 12 years of investigative reporting and pull a stunt that would destroy his credibility completely? Do you kind of get why I say Ed's paranoia is so exquisite? When Ed Sanders says the process people are everywhere, he's not wrong. Back to the lawsuit. They did lose in the UK, which I like to point out to people should be kind of alarming since that's their home turf, right? Now, Timothy Wiley likes to paint it as an ultra-conservative judge, and in the latest edition of Love, Sex, Fear, and Death, they do include a couple of tidbits from the court records. Conveniently, these tidbits out of the 400-something pages really paint it as religious persecution or satanic panic. As someone who has read these court records in full at least 3 times, I find the cherry picking of these court records to be intellectually insulting, but this is just my personal opinion. With Manson, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of work our way backwards in regards to the process in Scientology. We're going to do this by starting with an individual, Gordon Mustaine, who at this time was the public relations director for the Church of Scientology. From the LA Evening Citizen News, Saturday, December 13, 1969, Scientologists hit rumors. The Church of Scientology has denied any link between the church and the Tate murders and has offered $30,000 in rewards relating to the recent murders of 2 church members and an alleged conspiracy to defame the church. The rewards consist of $10,000 for information leading to the prosecution and conviction of persons impeding the police investigation into the murders of Doreen Gall and James Sharp by causing false information to be given to the police and the public. Another $10,000 reward was offered for information leading to the prosecution and conviction of anyone who knowingly withholds information from police, which could result in the successful completion of the investigation and prosecution of those guilty of the murders. An additional $10,000 reward was offered for the prosecution and conviction of anyone responsible for circulating certain falsehoods regarding the Church of Scientology. The falsehoods concern the aims and objectives of the Church of Scientology, allegations that the church membership includes or has included notorious individuals, a reference to Charles Manson and members of his family, allegations of lack of assistance to police by the church or its members, and statements that the teachings and practices of the Church of Scientology are connected or could be adapted to satanic black magic practices.
In 1945, after a 4-year stint in the Navy, Hubbard became involved in ritual magic with a protege of British Satanist Aleister Crowley. But the church insists that Hubbard's participation in the alleged rituals was part of a government mission.
We know about L. Ron Hubbard. He was sent in by one of the American security forces with a brief to shut the thing down, which effectively he did.
The rewards were enumerated by the Reverend Gordon Mustaine, a spokesman for the Church of Scientology in the U.S., at the Greater Los Angeles Press Club Friday. He said the reward money had been authorized by the worldwide headquarters in England and will be paid for from an emergency fund. Reverend Gordon denied any connection between the Church of Scientology and Charles Manson, or his followers, or a satanic cult known as The Process. The Process, which was reported to be an offshoot of Scientology and worshippers of Satan, has been under investigation by police for its possible connections with Charles Manson and his family. Both groups resided in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco at the same time prior to the Tate and LaBianca murders. The Reverend said his organization has offered every possible assistance to police in their investigation of the murders of the 2 Scientology members. Charles Manson has never been a member, nor to our knowledge have any of his followers, said the Reverend Mustaine. He did admit it is possible Manson had studied Scientology literature, which is freely distributed. Me speaking. Gordon Mustaine is a shady character, but you can see photos of him in the newspapers holding up signs offering the $30,000 reward, claiming that a well-organized and vicious rumor campaign was the real motivating factor behind these rumors about Charles Manson and Scientology. We're going to find out that Gordon Mustaine knows damn well that he's lying. But first, I would like to start with a fascinating interview. The National Tatler, January 11, 1970. Trace weird cultism behind slaughter of the Tate clan. A super-secret international black magic cult known as The Process may be behind two sensational series of brutal killings in California. Both the family, a mystical band of hippies whose members are charged with the slaying of actress Sharon Tate and 7 other people in the LA area, and Zodiac, mysterious killer of 7 people in the San Francisco area, are closely linked to The Process, believes a high official of the Church of Scientology. In an exclusive interview, Gordon Mustaine, public relations director for the Church's 5 million member American branch, documented numerous parallels between The Process's bizarre theology and practices and those of the family and Zodiac. 11 pages of notes from a secret process lecture and reports from Scientology members who have infiltrated the cult's secret meetings first provided Scientology officials in London with information linking the 5-year-old cult to the California mass murders. The notes, accidentally left at the New Orleans Scientology Church last Friday by Brother Micah Ludovic, American leader of The Process, were handed over to LA police on December 11th to aid in the investigation of the Tate murders as well as the vicious stabbing of 2 young Scientologists. I have to interrupt here and point out that Micah Ludovic is Timothy Wiley. I'm just saying. Earlier, the church gave police a 1968 issue of the magazine Process, official publication of the Weird Cult, which was headquartered on Balfour Place in the Mayfair section of London until early 1968. The magazine was turned over to police on December 2nd, 24 hours after it was announced the Tate case had been cracked. A copy of the same issue had been received by the church in November of 1968. Each page decorated with strange symbols, including occult and witchcraft figures, signs of the zodiac, and silhouettes of human beings being tortured and maimed. Mustaine believes the magazine contains an as-yet undeciphered warning from The Process to Scientologists, a threat of retaliation against church officials who set immigration authorities on the trail of 14 Process members in this country illegally since early last year. After reporting The Process to immigration authorities, they scattered to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, Greenwich Village in New York, and the French Quarter of New Orleans to avoid deportation to England. Apparently, they went underground in the underground, stopped calling themselves The Process, and attempted to blend with the hippies. Charles Manson, leader of the family, and the man who calls himself Zodiac, probably first became acquainted with The Process's weird practices in Haight-Ashbury. While the group's dynamics of The Process are difficult to understand, they apparently lead members to believe that all people are part of each other and that killing another person is no worse than inflicting pain on oneself, Mustaine explained. Life, as most people know it, has no meaning in The Process or the family. Zodiac claims he must kill to live. Both groups are known to have migrated south to LA about the same time, the family between April 12th and 22nd, and The Process in late May. At least 2 family members attended Process membership rallies in June, according to reporters for 2 LA area underground newspapers who covered the rallies. There was a strange man in the Haight who said he was the king of the Zodiac, related one ex-family member, now living in Mazatlan, Mexico, when interviewed shortly after LAPD announced they had warrants to arrest suspects in the Tate case. However, this is the only known link between the family and the Zodiac. The tie-in between the family and The Process, though, appears to run quite deep according to Scientology's documents. From the secret Process notes left in New Orleans, "Tonight I own you and you own me. We can do with each other what we wish," The Process lecturer is quoted as saying in Brother Micah's notes. People kill each other to affirm their existence to one another.
We weren't black magicians. We weren't worshipping Satan. No.
I didn't have to get involved in, eating Christian babies, spreading blood all over myself.
It appears The Process may have been trying to go so far out from the New Left and underground movement, beyond all of the hypocrisy. So far, they may have gotten caught on the really far-out fringes, Mustaine believes. It looks like they were attempting to find enlightenment on the other side of reality, seeking an impossible mystical or spiritual goal. "I suspect the same thing from the family," continued the Scientology official, who holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and has done graduate work and independent research in the field.
Manson was, in one sense, he was rather clever. If you came and said, "Is there any connection between you and Robert de Grimston?" I think he said, actually, Dick Grimston and I are one, you know, so he's not denying anything.
Given the assistance of drugs and the conditioning of hypnotism and encounter group situations, as well as a preconditioned desire to be obedient to a strong authoritarian father figure, I would say it was potentially possible for one dominant personality in a group such as the family to have the total obedience of the members, Mustaine went on. Those under indictment for the LA murder say they were hypnotized by Manson when he ordered them to kill everyone in the Tate and LaBianca homes. Dr. William Jennings Bryan Jr., Los Angeles hypnotist and president of the American Institute of Hypnosis, contends, however, that Manson's followers were brainwashed through a combination of drugs, erotic rituals, the cult leader's powerful and persuasive personality, and months of virtual isolation from normal society. Dr. Bryan has been retained by attorneys for Miss Atkins to testify on her behalf when the family comes to trial about next February. You really can't make this stuff up, guys. Continuing. The brutal nature of the killings with which the family leader and 5 members are charged was explained by Mustaine as an outgrowth of the process's known involvement in England with such crimes as torturing, kidnapping victims, masochistic rites in which victims must mutilate themselves, and the use of bullwhips on people who disobeyed or insulted process leaders. The 14 process members who have been in the U.S. illegally since last year fled London when Scotland Yard began investigating a kidnapping case in which the victim was tortured with electroshock, Mustaine reports. And the process is also reported to have killed people to release their souls, similar to one of the explanations the family gives for its murders, he pointed out. A Scot woman, Marianne McLean, was one of the process's founders. She has boasted in the Process magazine of turning men into masochists who beat themselves with black whips. She was once engaged to Sugar Ray Robinson, former welterweight and middleweight champion, and Lord Elsa, an English nobleman. After she broke up with Robinson, she became an ultra-racist, praising Hitler and openly urging elimination of Jews and Negroes. Another process leader, Sister Greer, praised a simple German house painter who spoke with the words of God and punished the Jews for crucifying Christ during a New Orleans lecture early this year, which was attended by a Scientologist. As some of you may know, Ed wrote for the LA Free Press, and that was his press badge that he used to attend the Manson trials. From The Auditor magazine, number 49, Writers Wins. For Gordon Mustaine, Scientology has meant one win after another. Since becoming a Scientologist, he has come into his own as an author, appeared in a film, and has applied Scientology administration and technology in the newspaper world with great success. Gordon is a member of the staff of the influential LA newspaper, the LA Free Press, where he has applied Scientology administration techniques with such effect that he was made production manager. As a result, the newspaper began to come out on schedule, circulation rose, and its income increased. Would Scientology play the long con like that? I'd reckon when you've got more dead Scientologists than just Gall and Sharp, and the folks who perpetrated these crimes are tied up with the process and Scientology, you're damn right you're gonna play the long con.
When I look out my window, many sights to see. And when I look in my window, so many different people to be, that it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. When I look over my shoulder, what do you think I see? Some other cat looking over his shoulder. towards my window. What do you think I see? And when I look in my window, so many different people to be. It's strange, sure is strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Two rabbits running in the ditch. Oh no, must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. Must be the season of the witch. Where'd I go? Where'd I go?
Gordon Mustaine was, from a PR perspective, the most vocal critic of the process in regards to their ties to Charles Manson. One has to wonder why the good Reverend didn't reiterate the fact that the de Grimstons were declared suppressive people back in 1965. One could argue this might bolster the church's argument, for the moment, that they knew the process was trouble way back then. Reading from Guardian's Office Document, November 30th, 1970. Subject, Squirrel Groups. The following is a list of squirrel groups past and present. Anyone found to have ever been a member or associate or student or practitioner of any of these groups come under the policy Enrollment in Suppressive Groups of June 29, 1968. The Church of the Final Judgment and the Process are listed as two separate groups located in the USA, UK, Europe, and Mexico. The odd duck is the Church of Satan. What the heck is the Church of Satan doing on this list, you may ask? Who really knows? My best guess is it's because Susan Atkins used to dance for Anton LaVey. But if we follow that logic through, this is a backhanded acknowledgement of other family members having a connection to Scientology since, it's a list of defector or problem groups, right? But hey, what do I know? Now we're going to read from Ed's files. It's just called a process update, but this looks like possibly information that was shared with him from Gordon Mustaine, as it includes a photo of Gordon Mustaine standing in front of the Church of Scientology holding some process notes. It's a long report. We're not going to read the entire thing, but the tea is piping hot, so it's time to serve it. A devil-worshipping cult which contracts with motorcycle gangs to murder people opposed to its goal of fomenting a world revolution has been linked to California's sensational Sharon Tate murder case. The Process, a militant right-wing extremist cult born in England in 1962 by a defector from the Church of Scientology, apparently contracted for the slaying of Miss Tate and 3 jet-set friends, one of whom was a former Scientologist. The contract was given to a band of hippies known as the Family after a motorcycle gang refused it. The pact also called for the assassination of 11 more prominent entertainment and civil rights figures, some of whom are believed to be members of Scientology. Los Angeles police say there is a definite link between the Scientology Process Holy War, the Tate murders, 4 other LA killings, and possibly another 30 unsolved homicides throughout California. Brutal and repeated stabbings are the common denominator in all 30 of these slayings. Most victims were 14 to 30 years of age, and most were killed while members of the family were known to be in the area. Interviews with Los Angeles detectives, Scientology officials, and a young woman who defected from the process reveal striking similarities between the cult and the hippie family. A common thread of satanic worship, sexual perversion, drugs, hypnotism, lust for murder, and belief in world revolution runs through the two groups. The young woman who left the process said, "There was a list of Scientology members to be killed by contracting with motorcycle gangs. There is a definite connection between the process Scientology feud, the hippie family, the Scientology and Tate murders, declared detectives on the Scientology case, but we cannot get more specific because of the court order banning publicity about the Tate investigation." The existence of an assassination list, however, was confirmed by one of 6 family members indicted for the Tate murders: Susan Denise Atkins, 21-year-old mother of one of the leader Charles Manson's several illegitimate children told police the group had a list of 11 people to kill. Police are now attempting to determine how many potential victims belong to Scientology, but are hampered by the church's policy against disclosing its membership roster. Officials close to the Tate investigation say privately that one of the actress's murdered companions, men's hairstylist Jay Sebring, joined Scientology in the early 1960s after meeting the church's founder, science fiction writer Ron Hubbard, in Europe. Friends of Sebring also say Scientology is the kind of organization Sebring liked to join for new thrills. It is also known that several celebrities in Sebring's circle of entertainers and socialites belong to the church. Friends of two other victims of the family's alleged murder spree, wealthy Los Angeles market chain owner Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary, say the couple once belonged to Scientology. The August 9th and 10th multiple murders took place within a few miles of the November 21st stabbings of the two young Scientology members Doreen Gall, 19, and James Sharp, 15. Manson and two of his followers indicted for the Tate LaBianca killings were in jail at the time, but 3 others, now under indictment, were free, and may have been in LA along with other members of the hippie clan. Bruce Davis, Charles Manson, and other members of the family first came in contact with the process in Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco's hippie section, in early 1968, according to Scientologists living in the area. The family migrated south to LA in April of '68, followed a month later by the process. However, in June of 1968, process members scattered from a Hollywood motel where they had been holding a membership drive, disappearing a day before immigration authorities tipped off by Scientology officials raided the motel. Process members are divided into 3 subgroups. Followers of Jehovah are charged with preparing for a new world order by setting up communes in remote areas. Satan's disciples are supposed to bring about world revolution by fomenting a race war, and Lucifers are to destroy and steal property. A similar division of tasks has been noted within the family, which was busily engaged in building a commune in Death Valley when 24 members, including Manson and Miss Atkins, were arrested last October 10th and 12th. Police feel that they are on sounder ground trying to link the process and the family to the murders and, with the assistance of Scientology officials and the young woman who left the process, have begun to reconstruct the history of the cult. The process was founded in London by Robert Moore, executive assistant to Scientology founder Hubbard, after the two had a falling out over Moore's use of drugs and advocacy of... The report cuts off. Moore and a Scot woman, Marianne McLean, set up a cult in opposition to Scientology, financing it with $50,000 Miss McLean received from blackmailing British officials for whom she had been a procuress. Preaching that a world revolution was on the way and the process's mission was to speed it up, Moore and Miss McLean attracted about 50 followers from the dregs of London society, including drug addicts, arch-conservative paramilitary groups, and motorcycle gangs. The cultists fled England in early 1968 when Scotland Yard wanted to interrogate them about a kidnapping in which the victim was tortured by electroshock devices. Moore and Miss McLean, who had married within the process, took the name de Grimston and fled to Mexico, settling in southern Baja California, while 14 followers came to the U.S. with forged passports. So, was that tea hot enough? Oh, the tangled webs we weave. If Jay Sebring and the LaBiancas were Scientologists, it kinda changes some of the dynamics here, doesn't it? And then you gotta wonder. Now, don't get me wrong. Scientology does not want to claim Charles Manson. The church's current CIA, the Office of Special Affairs, or OSA, as it's often referred to, is still trying to keep tabs on where the Manson case is going in what I would assume is the court of public opinion, since Manson's dead. But I think it's worth noting that the audio clips that we've heard from process members and what we've read of their writings, they really don't have anything bad to say about Scientology, and they speak pretty highly of the E-meter, or P-scope. Makes you wonder what they found on Spawn Ranch. Was it a P-scope or an E-meter? Who knows? And then that begs the question of why the co-founder of the Satanic Temple said on a podcast not that long ago that he was going to try and perfect the use of the E-meter. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Reading from the Sacramento Bee, January 9th, 1981. A U.S. appeals court Thursday dismissed a damage suit the Church of Scientology of California brought against 4 federal employees for allegedly circulating a memorandum accusing it of bizarre activities. The church said the memo falsely reported that Scientology members used LSD and other drugs. The organization administered electroshock to new members in an initiation ceremony, and several people had been shot because they objected to the membership of their teenage children in it. The judge had concluded the 1-year time period allowed by law for filing a defamation action had lapsed. The court noted the Church of Scientology charged in its suit that Labor Department employee Shirley Foley wrote the memo accusing the church of certain bizarre activities. The document named Internal Revenue Service employees Charlotte Murphy and June Norris as sources of the information and said they urgently request that the Department of Labor withhold alien employment certification on any basis for the Church of Scientology. The paper was forwarded to State Department employee John McGill in 1968, who in turn supplied a copy to the Immigration and Naturalization Service. When Gordon Mustaine was talking about sending immigration authorities to come after the Processians, was he actually talking about Scientologists, or are they the same thing? What does Sirhan have to do with it? Let's go ahead and read the Immigration and Naturalization Services report. We're not going to read the entire thing, we're going to hit the high points. Memorandum to file, Richard C. Smith, Criminal Investigator, August 20th, 1974. Subject, Process, Church of the Final Judgment. A brief history of Scientology is included to show the development and origins of subject organization. Scientology is a type of religion founded by Mr. Lafayette Ron Hubbard and his wife Mary Sue. Mr. Hubbard is a United States citizen living abroad, reportedly aboard a large yacht. He He founded his church in England using a device similar to a simple lie detector. Using these devices, members are interviewed by leaders and asked questions about themselves, and when they answer, the truthfulness is recorded on the devices. In this manner, all inner self-defense mechanisms are destroyed, and after a person is cleaned of all vestiges of his training by society, the church then rebuilds him the correct way, instituting the principles desired by the church. Robert Moore Sylvester de Grimston, born in Shanghai, China, a citizen of Great Britain, and lawful permanent resident alien, admitted July 20th, 1972 as a B-2 visitor, adjusted under Section 245 as a minister of religion, as defined under Section 101. He is the founder and leader of the subject organization. He was described by Mr. Hubbard as his right-hand man in the Scientology Church in the early 1960s. He met and married his wife, Mary Ann de Grimston, while attending meetings of the church. He is also known as the Prophet and Jesus Christ. Mary Ann de Grimston, born in Elderslie, Scotland, maiden name of Mary Ann McLean. She is presently an applicant for adjustment of status under Section 245 to become a minister of religion to the subject organization. Larry Larson, private investigator, stated that she has been arrested for prostitution in England and is alleged to be part of an infamous group of call girls which were involved in the well-known Perfumo affair. Further, there seems to be indications that her sexual aberrations take on the form of a leather belt, boots, and a whip. The men are tied up and kicked prior to actual commission of the sexual act. Her church name is Hecate, Mother of All Witches. According to the charter of the subject organization, it was called of God to bring about the end of the earth and the final judgment of man. Quote taken from the statement of Robert de Grimston. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office provided this office with certain documents executed by Robert de Grimston to be used as operation memorandums for the organization. These orders are resplendent with indications that the organization is trying to bring about the end of the world through institution of chaos and force. Further information received from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office indicates that subject organization ordered the death of Sharon Tate by Manson. This information is not directly corroborated. Manson states he had no relationship with the process, but his followers, while incarcerated at the LA County Jail, were embroidering process emblems on articles of clothing that they were making. Also, the process sent a representative to obtain a document prepared by Manson in jail about death. Larry Larson, private investigator, Los Angeles, California, was requested to sneak the document from the jail. He did not, but it was finally accomplished and published by the process. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office also has uncorroborated information that Sirhan Sirhan, A10711-881, convicted slayer of Robert F. Kennedy, was contacted by the process and had attended some parties given by television personalities in behalf of the organization where rites took place, usually dealing with sexual deviations and heavy drug use. One of these parties took place at Sharon Tate's home. Larry Larson was able to disclose that John Phillips of the Mamas and Papas singing group was providing money for the organization's operation in Los Angeles in 1967 and 1968. Larry Larson related that the process was involved in a legal suit in London over publication of a book by Ed Sanders, U.S. citizen, called The Family, published by Rupert, Hart and Davis of London, England. The book is a takeoff of Charles Manson and alludes to a tie-in between him and the process. The organization lost the suit upon evidence presented that they were, in fact, involved in the activities mentioned and additional activities brought to light. These included the acts of self-flagellation and heavy drug use by members in Mexico and sexual deviations with persons and dogs. The United States Internal Revenue Service, Intelligence Division, Los Angeles, California, provided statements obtained by officials outside the U.S. from prior members of the process chapter in Toronto, Canada, who made allegations of wild sexual parties in the areas restricted for the inner members of the organization and wide drug use by all members. Scotland Yard, London, England, did a report indicating that England at that time had no criminal charges against or interest in the organization. Subsequently, Larry Larson revealed that the British Parliament was conducting an investigation into the subject organization. A basic belief of the organization is that they are all gods and can do no wrong. They teach that if they kill someone in this life, that person becomes their slave in the life hereafter. Me speaking. Holy guacamole, that's a lot of information. And I know that this has been an information-dense episode, even more so than the others. And this is just part 1. I don't know how many parts I'm going to be going with Manson, guys. We've got to talk about his Scientology training in prison. We got to talk about his auditor, who's a fascinating character that ends up in Westchester County, coincidentally the same time the Son of Sam crimes start. We gotta talk about the process trying to get in touch with Ed in New York before any of this stuff happened. And we've gotta talk about all the weirdness with all the celebrities and processians, because ultimately, all roads lead to Rome. We're gonna close out with Ed from his book, Sharon Tate, A Life. An FBI report with the information linking Sirhan with the English Satanists, though with virtually all of the information blacked out, was received by the Yonkers Police Department during the Son of Sam investigation decades later. Investigators in Yonkers verified what was in the blacked out sections, and it corresponded with what the INS officer wrote in his 1974 report regarding Sirhan attending parties on behalf of the Satanist English cult, including one at Sharon Tate's place. CBS television reporter Carl George, whom I met at the Tate LaBianca trial, alleged that a sheriff's office homicide detective stated he could link Sirhan in Pasadena to a member of the English satanic cult. INS criminal investigator Richard Smith's report stated that an LA law enforcement agency had a female informant who averred that the English Satanist group had commissioned Manson to kill Sharon Tate. Larson asked Smith about the informant and was told it was a person who alleged that she had been in the same room at the time the Satanists let out an order for a contract to Manson to kill her. The reason for the contract, as Larson stated in a report to me, was something that she unfortunately overheard that she was not supposed to overhear, either in regards to Sirhan or about Sirhan. Larry Larson reported the following, and then I asked the obvious question, what did Sharon Tate allegedly overhear? And he said, I can't discuss that. It's a matter of national security.
All the leaves are brown. And the sky is gray. I've been for a walk on a winter's day. I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA. California dreaming on such a winter's day. Stopped into a church. I passed along